Admiral Kethavar could barely stand as his cybernetic implants failed one by one. The organic components in his enhanced body were shutting down, leaving him weak and confused. Around him, his bridge crew collapsed as their technological advantages disappeared. Status report, he managed to gasp. Commander Yelthar tried to respond, but his voice came out as static. His communication implants were dead, along with most of his enhanced abilities. Fleet. Multiple ships. Systems failing. The human virus had spread through the Vorthak network faster than anyone had believed possible. It attacked every biological component it found, from the organic computers that ran their ships to the living tissue that interfaced with their cybernetic implants. Admiral, a voice called from across the bridge. It was Navigation Officer Zektra, one of the few crew members with minimal cybernetic enhancement. Incoming transmission from the human planet. Kethvar forced himself to focus on the main screen. The image that appeared showed a human in military uniform, standing in what appeared to be an underground command center. "I am Admiral Hyun Woo of the United Nations Defense Force," the human said. "Your biological weapon has failed. Your fleet is crippled, but we are not finished with you yet." The transmission ended, leaving the Vorthak bridge in stunned silence. How had these primitives turned their own weapon against them? How had they learned to fight back so effectively? On Earth, General Wu Jin led his troops through the ruins of Seoul. The city had been devastated by the alien bombardment, but his soldiers moved with purpose through the wreckage. They had work to do. "Target acquired," reported Lieutenant Dong Hyun from his sniper position. "Vorthak landing craft 2 kilometers north." Wu Jin looked through his binoculars at the alien ship. It had crashed during the virus attack when its biological systems failed. The crew inside would be vulnerable now, cut off from their technological advantages. "Move in," he ordered. "Remember, we need prisoners alive. Command wants to interrogate them." The human soldiers advanced on the crashed ship using tactics they had learned from studying every alien conflict they could observe. The Vorthak expected enemies to fight in formation, using heavy weapons and direct assault. Instead, the humans moved like ghosts through the urban ruins. Private Hee Jin crawled through a collapsed building, using the rubble as cover. Her rifle was a hybrid weapon that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. It fired projectiles that could punch through Vorthak armor while remaining nearly silent. "Movement in the ship," she whispered into her radio. "3 aliens near the exit ramp. They look different." Wu Jin studied the aliens through his scope. The Vorthak soldiers were stumbling around like they were drunk. Their cybernetic implants were dark, their enhanced reflexes gone. Without their technology, they moved like any other organic being. "They are vulnerable," he realized. "All units commence capture operation." The human assault was swift and precise. Stun grenades rolled into the alien ship, followed by soldiers using non-lethal weapons. Within minutes, they had captured 6 Vorthak prisoners without killing any of them. "Sir," reported Sergeant Jin'e as she secured the aliens, "these soldiers, they are nothing without their implants. Slower than humans, weaker than humans. Their entire military advantage came from their technology." Wu Jin nodded grimly. The Vorthak had enhanced themselves so much that they had forgotten how to fight without their cybernetic advantages. Strip away their technology and they became helpless. "Get them to the interrogation center," he ordered. "Command wants to know everything about their fleet composition and battle plans." In space above Earth, Captain Sujin guided her salvage ship toward one of the crippled Vorthak vessels. The alien cruiser was drifting powerless, its crew either dead or incapacitated by the biological virus. "Boarding team ready," she reported to Admiral Hyun-woo. "The ship appears to be completely dead. No power, no life support, no defensive systems." "Proceed with caution," came the reply. "We need their technology, but do not take unnecessary risks." Sujin's team had been specially trained for this mission. They wore environmental suits and carried equipment designed to interface with alien systems. Their job was to capture as much Vorthak technology as possible before the aliens could recover. "Entering the ship now," Sujin reported as her team moved through the alien corridors. "Bodies everywhere. The virus was more effective than we thought. The Vorthak crew had died when their biological systems shut down, but their technology remained intact, waiting to be studied and reverse-engineered by human scientists." "Captain," called out Technician Chang Min from deeper in the ship, "you need to see this." Sujin followed him to what appeared to be the ship's main computer core. The room was filled with organic-looking components that pulsed with strange light. But Changmin was not looking at the alien technology. He was looking at a series of star charts displayed on the walls. These are not just battle plans, Changmin explained. These are invasion routes. The Vorthak have detailed maps of hundreds of star systems, including the locations of their homeworld and major military bases. Su Jin studied the charts with growing excitement. The aliens had made a critical mistake. In their arrogance, they had brought their most sensitive military intelligence with them to Earth. Now that information belonged to humanity. Download everything, she ordered. Every star chart, every fleet movement, every piece of intelligence they have. Command needs to see this immediately. Back on Earth, Director Jun-Ho of the newly formed Galactic Relations Department studied the captured alien data with fascination. The Vorthak Empire was even larger than humanity had suspected, controlling over 800 worlds across dozens of star systems. But the data also revealed something else. The Empire was not as strong as it appeared. Look at this, Jun-Ho told Admiral Hyun-woo as they reviewed the intelligence reports. The Vorthak control their territory through fear and superior technology. But most of their conquered worlds are lightly defended. Hyun-woo examined the fleet deployment charts. You are right. They concentrate their forces for conquest operations, then move on to the next target. The worlds they leave behind have minimal defenses. And now we know where all those worlds are located, Jun-Ho added. We have their complete strategic database. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just defended their homeworld from invasion. They had gained access to the military secrets of a galactic empire. They now knew the locations of hundreds of conquered worlds, the positions of enemy fleets, and the weaknesses in Vorthak defenses. There is more, Jun-Ho continued. The data includes information about other species the Vorthak have fought. Some of them are still resisting in remote parts of the galaxy. Admiral Hyun-woo felt a plan beginning to form in his mind. The Vorthak had tried to conquer Earth because they thought humans were primitive and helpless. They had learned differently. Now it was time to teach that lesson to the rest of the galaxy. Contact our prisoner interrogation teams, he ordered. I want to know everything about Vorthak military doctrine, fleet composition, and command structure. And get me a communication link to our hidden shipyards. The hidden shipyards had been humanity's greatest secret. For 50 years, human engineers had been building a fleet in the outer reaches of the solar system, using captured alien technology and revolutionary new designs. The ships had been hidden behind the gas giants, invisible to most sensors. Captain Kyung-soo commanded the construction facility hidden behind Jupiter. His shipyard looked like a simple mining platform, but it was actually producing vessels that combined the best of human and alien engineering. Admiral, he reported when the communication link was established. The fleet is ready. 200 ships of various classes, all equipped with hybrid technology. We can launch within 12 hours. What about the new weapon systems? Fully operational. We have plasma cannons reverse engineered from captured Vorthak technology, but improved with human innovations. Our shields can deflect their standard weapons, and every ship is equipped with the biological virus that crippled their fleet. Hyun-woo smiled. The Vorthak thought they were dealing with a primitive species that had gotten lucky in one battle. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for interstellar warfare for decades. Launch the fleet, he ordered, but do not engage the aliens yet. I want them to see what they are facing. In space around Earth, the crippled Vorthak fleet watched in growing horror as human ships emerged from hidden positions throughout the solar system. Sleek vessels that combined familiar alien designs with unknown human modifications. Each ship looked like it could match any Vorthak vessel in combat. Admiral Kethvar, still struggling with his failing implants, stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Where did they get those ships? Commander Yelthar managed to respond through his damaged communication systems. Unknown, Admiral. Our intelligence indicated that humans had no major shipbuilding capacity. Our intelligence was wrong about many things. Kethavar admitted bitterly. The human fleet took position around the alien vessels, not attacking but making their presence known. It was a clear message. Humanity could destroy the Vorthak fleet whenever they chose to do so. Then came the transmission that would change everything. Admiral Kethavar stood before the holographic display in his damaged command center, his 4 eyes burning with rage. The humans had humiliated his fleet, destroyed dozens of ships, and made the mighty Vorthak Empire look weak. This could not stand. Commander Yelthar, he called to his second-in-command. What is the status of our reinforcements? Yelthar's cybernetic implants were still sparking from the human electromagnetic attacks, but he managed to process the incoming data. 3 more fleets are en route, Admiral. They will arrive within 2 standard days. The High Command has also authorized the use of Class 7 biological weapons. Kethavar's mandibles clicked together in satisfaction. The biological weapons were forbidden by galactic law, but the humans had forced his hand. The microscopic agents would target human DNA specifically, breaking down their cellular structure from the inside. Within hours of deployment, every human on the planet would be dead. And after the biological attack, Kethavar asked, standard orbital bombardment to destroy any remaining infrastructure. Then we establish mining operations to extract the planet's resources. The High Command estimates the world will be fully productive within 6 months. The Admiral nodded. It was a sound plan. The humans had shown unexpected cunning in the first battle, but no primitive species could survive a biological weapon designed by Vorthak scientists. Soon this troublesome world would join the Empire's collection of dead planets, serving as a mining site and a warning to other species. Deploy the biological agents, Kethavar ordered. Target their major population centers first. On Earth, Dr. Minho worked frantically in his underground laboratory beneath Sol. The xenobiologist had been studying alien technology for 20 years, but he had never faced anything like this. The Vorthak biological weapons were floating down through Earth's atmosphere like invisible death, targeting every human they encountered. Status report. Admiral Hyunwoo's voice came through the communication system. The biological agent is incredibly sophisticated, Minho replied, not looking up from his microscopes and analyzers. It targets human DNA at the molecular level. Population centers are showing infection rates of 90% within the first hour. Fatality rates. Minho paused in his work. This was the part he had been dreading. Sir, if we cannot find a countermeasure, the entire human population will be dead within 72 hours. There was silence on the communication channel. Minho could imagine the weight of that news settling on every human commander around the world. 3 days to save their species or humanity would become extinct. Doctor, came another voice. This was Commander Haywan, leader of Earth's Special Operations Division. What do you need from us? Minho looked at the samples of alien tissue that his team had recovered from the previous battle. I need more alien biological material, fresh samples, and I need them now. Understood, Haywan replied. My team will get you what you need. While Dr. Minho raced to find a cure, the rest of humanity prepared for the fight of their lives. But instead of despair, the news of the biological weapon had triggered something the Vorthak had not expected. It had made humans angry. Major Wu Jin stood before his assembled troops in the ruins of what had once been Tokyo. Half of his soldiers were already showing symptoms of the alien plague, but none of them were backing down. Listen up, he told his men. The aliens think they can kill us all with their poison. They think we'll just lie down and die like good little primitives. His troops looked back at him with determination in their eyes. These were volunteers who had stayed to fight even after the evacuation orders. They knew they were probably going to die, but they were going to make it cost the aliens everything. We're going to show them something, Wu Jin continued. We're going to show them what happens when you try to kill a human's family. In space above Earth, the Vorthak fleet waited for the biological weapons to complete their work. Admiral Kethavar monitored the progress through long-range sensors, watching for signs that human civilization was collapsing. Admiral, communication specialist Techmore called out. We are receiving transmissions from the human planet. Let me hear them. The first transmission was a recording of human music, broadcast from multiple locations across Earth. The Vorthak had heard human music before during their initial approach, but this was different. The melodies were somber, mournful like funeral songs for the dying, but mixed in with the music were other sounds. Human voices speaking in dozens of different languages. They were not begging for mercy or calling for help. Instead, they were telling stories. What are they saying? Kethavar demanded. Thekmore's translation implants worked to decode the various human languages. They appear to be recounting their military history, Admiral. Stories of battles from their past. Something about a place called Thermopylae, where 300 warriors held off a vast army. More transmissions followed. Humans told the story of a siege where civilians held out for nearly 900 days while under constant attack. They spoke of soldiers who fought house by house through the ruins of their cities rather than surrender. They described battles where humans had chosen to die rather than accept defeat. Why are they broadcasting this? Yelthar asked. Kethavar was beginning to understand, and the realization chilled him. They are not surrendering. They are preparing to fight to extinction. The Admiral had conquered hundreds of worlds, but he had never encountered a species that responded to inevitable death with defiance instead of despair. Most races would be paralyzed by fear at this point, their governments collapsing as their populations died. But the humans were using their final hours to organize resistance. Commander Haywan crept through the wreckage of the Vorthak ship that had crashed during the first battle. Her special operations team wore environmental suits to protect them from both the alien atmosphere inside the ship and the biological weapons in Earth's air. Biological samples located, reported Sergeant Kyung-soo over the radio. The alien crew appears to have some kind of immunity system. Haywan examined the alien corpses scattered through the ship's corridors. The Vorthak had cybernetic implants throughout their bodies, but they also had organic components that were surprisingly complex. Collect everything, she ordered. Blood, tissue, implant fluid, whatever you can find. Dr. Minho needs as much alien biological material as possible. As her team worked to gather samples, Haywan made another discovery. The ship's computer systems were still partially functional, protected by backup power sources. If she could access their data, Kyung-soo, get over here. We need to hack into their systems. The sergeant was one of Earth's best computer specialists, trained in both human and alien technology. He connected his portable equipment to the ship's databanks and began the delicate process of breaking through alien encryption. I'm in, he reported after several tense minutes, downloading everything I can find. Their technical manuals, weapon specifications, fleet communications. Wait. What is it? Kyung-soo's eyes widened behind his helmet visor. Commander, I found the technical specifications for the biological weapon they used on us. But there's something else. They have the genetic profiles for over 200 species in their database. Haywan understood immediately. Species they've conquered before. Yes, but that's not the important part. Each profile includes the biological weapons they used against that species. If Dr. Minho can access this data, back in his laboratory, Dr. Minho received the alien data with desperate hope. The Vorthak had been using biological weapons for centuries, targeting dozens of different species. Each weapon was specifically designed for its target, but the underlying technology was the same. So Young, he called to his assistant, look at this. The aliens have been using the same basic platform for all their biological weapons. If we can find a way to reverse the targeting mechanism. Engineer So Young was one of Earth's leading experts in biotechnology. She had spent years studying alien implants and organic systems. You want to turn their own weapon against them? Exactly. The biological agent they used on us targets human DNA. But if we can modify it to target Vorthak genetic material instead, they worked through the night as the alien plague continued to spread across Earth. But something unexpected was happening. The human immune system, evolved through millions of years of fighting diseases, was beginning to adapt to the alien weapon. Doctor, So Young called out, look at these blood samples from the infected populations. Some of them are showing signs of recovery. Minho examined the samples under his microscope. It was true. A small percentage of humans seemed to be developing natural immunity to the biological weapon. Their bodies were learning to fight off the alien agent. How many? He asked. Maybe 5% of the population. But it's increasing. The human immune system is treating this like any other disease and developing antibodies. This gave Minho an idea. If some humans could fight off the weapon naturally, he could synthesize those antibodies and create a cure for everyone else. But more importantly, he could use the alien data to create a weapon that would target Vorthak biology. Contact Commander Haywan, he ordered. Tell her we need to get this modified weapon to the alien fleet. And we need to do it without them detecting what we're doing. 6 months after the surrender of the Vorthak fleet, Admiral Chang Min stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar warship. The vessel had been built using captured alien technology, but improved with human engineering and tactics. It was faster than any Vorthak ship, more heavily armed, and carried a crew that understood warfare in ways the aliens never could. Status report, Changmin requested as his ship approached the edge of human space. All systems green. reported Navigation Officer Boram. "We are ready to jump to hyperspace on your command." Changmin looked at the star charts that had been captured from the Vorthak database. Their destination was a world called Kepler 442b, located 37 light-years from Earth. According to the alien records, it was home to a species called the Threnody, who had been conquered by the Vorthak 15 years ago. "Begin the jump," he ordered. The human ship disappeared into hyperspace, beginning humanity's first journey beyond their home solar system. Behind them, Earth continued to recover from the alien invasion while preparing for what would come next. Director Jun Ho had been promoted to head the new Department of Galactic Affairs, tasked with managing humanity's growing contact with alien species. His office in Geneva was filled with star charts, alien artifacts, and communication equipment designed to reach across the galaxy. "Status of the Liberation fleets?" he asked his assistant, Colonel Minke. "Fleet Alpha has made contact with the Threnody resistance on Kepler 442b, Minke reported. "Fleet Beta is approaching the Zerion system, where the Vorthak have enslaved a species of aquatic beings. Fleet Gamma is investigating reports of active resistance movements in the Rigel sector." Junho nodded as he studied the galactic map on his wall. Humanity had learned something important from the captured Vorthak data. The Empire controlled hundreds of worlds, but they were spread thin across thousands of light-years. Most conquered species were guarded by only small garrison forces. "And the Vorthak response?" "Confused and disorganized," Minke replied. "They have recalled fleets from 17 different sectors to defend their core worlds. But without their flagship fleet that we captured, they lack the coordination to mount an effective defense." The destruction of Admiral Kethvar's invasion force had done more than just save Earth. It had removed one of the Empire's most experienced commanders and his elite troops. The Vorthak military was struggling to adapt to the new reality of human warfare. On the distant world of Kepler 442b, Admiral Changmin met with the Threnody resistance leaders in a hidden cave deep beneath their planet's surface. The aliens looked like tall, graceful beings with crystalline skin that reflected light in beautiful patterns. They had been living underground for 15 years, hiding from their Vorthak oppressors. "We received your transmission," said Velandra, the Threnody resistance leader. "But we do not understand. Why would humans risk their lives to help us? What do you gain from our freedom?" Changmin had been asked this question on every world his fleet had visited. The concept of fighting for someone else's freedom seemed to confuse most alien species. "We gain allies," he explained. "We gain knowledge. We gain the satisfaction of knowing that slavery has been ended on another world. But mostly, we fight because it is the right thing to do." Velandra translated his words for the other resistance leaders, who discussed them in their musical language. Finally, she turned back to him. "The Vorthak garrison has 40 ships in orbit around our world. Their weapons can destroy our cities from space. How can your small fleet defeat them?" Changmin smiled. It was the same mistake the Vorthak had made when they first approached Earth. They thought victory depended on numbers and superior weapons. "We do not fight the way they expect," he explained. "Watch and learn." The liberation of Kepler 442b became the template for human operations across the galaxy. Instead of direct assault, the human fleet used tactics that had been perfected during Earth's defense. Captain So Young led a squadron of modified human fighters in a surprise attack on the Vorthak orbital platforms. Her ships looked like innocent cargo vessels until they revealed hidden weapons and began systematically destroying the alien defenses. Meanwhile, Major Tejo worked with the Threnody resistance to plant the human biological virus in the planet's communication networks. Within hours, the Vorthak garrison found their cybernetic implants failing and their enhanced abilities disappearing. The battle lasted only 6 hours. By the end, 37 Vorthak ships had been destroyed or captured, and the remaining 3 had fled the system. The Threnody were free for the first time in 15 years, but the humans did not stop there. They left behind advisors to help the Threnody rebuild their society, along with technology and weapons to defend themselves if the Vorthak returned. More importantly, they shared the star charts and intelligence they had captured, giving the Threnody knowledge of other conquered worlds that might need liberation. "Your species is strange," Velandra told Admiral Changmin as his fleet prepared to leave. "Most conquerors seek to rule the worlds they capture. You seek to free them and move on." "We are not conquerors," Changmin replied. "We are liberators. There is a difference. Back on Earth, the effects of humanity's galactic campaign were becoming visible. Ambassador He Jin of the Department of Galactic Affairs processed applications from 34 different alien species, requesting alliance with Earth. The Kepler liberation has inspired resistance movements across the galaxy, she reported to Director Jun-ho. We are receiving requests for military assistance from species we have never heard of. Jun-ho studied the applications with satisfaction. Each freed world became a base for further operations. Each liberated species provided intelligence about other Vorthak targets. The Empire's control was unraveling faster than anyone had expected. What about the Vorthak themselves? He asked. Fragmenting, He-jin replied. Without their central authority, the Empire is breaking apart into competing factions. Some sectors have declared independence. Others are trying to negotiate surrender terms with us. The psychological impact of humanity's campaign had been devastating to the Vorthak. For centuries, they had believed themselves to be the galaxy's dominant species. The idea that primitives from a backwater world could destroy their empire was almost impossible for them to accept. Admiral Kethvar, now imprisoned on Earth, had become an unwilling expert on human military tactics. His captors treated him well, but they questioned him constantly about Vorthak strategy and capabilities. Why do you study us so intensively? He asked during one interrogation session. You have already defeated us. Colonel Wu Jin, who was conducting the interview, looked up from his notes. We study you because we want to understand how to prevent future conflicts. If we know how your people think, we can find peaceful solutions to problems. Kethvar found this concept difficult to grasp. In Vorthak culture, defeated enemies were enslaved or eliminated. The idea of studying them to avoid future wars was completely foreign. Your species is unique, he admitted. We have conquered 847 worlds, but we have never encountered anything like humanity. What makes us different? Wu Jin asked. The former admiral thought for a long time before answering. Most species fight to survive. You fight to learn. Every defeat teaches you something new. Every victory gives you new capabilities. You treat warfare as education. It was perhaps the most accurate assessment of human nature that any alien had ever made. On the former Vorthak homeworld of Vorth Prime, the new government struggled to maintain control as their empire collapsed around them. High Commander Zethkul had replaced the disgraced leadership, but he faced an impossible situation. Status of the human fleets? He demanded of his intelligence officers. Unknown, came the reply. They appear and disappear without warning. We believe they have liberated at least 40 worlds in the past 6 months, but we cannot track their movements. Zethkul studied the galactic map that showed the shrinking boundaries of his empire. Red markers indicated worlds that had been lost to human liberation forces. Green markers showed planets where resistance movements had been inspired by human broadcasts. Yellow markers indicated systems where Vorthak control was questionable. There was very little blue left on the map. Recommendations? He asked. Full withdrawal to the core systems, advised his strategic planning officer. Abandon the outer territories and consolidate our remaining forces around our most important worlds. It was a plan born of desperation, but it was also an admission of defeat. The mighty Vorthak Empire, which had once controlled a significant portion of the galaxy, was retreating to a handful of systems around their homeworld. Implement the withdrawal, Zethkul ordered, and send a message to the human leadership. We wish to negotiate a ceasefire. The message reached Earth within days, transmitted through diplomatic channels that had been established during the prisoner exchanges. Director Jun-ho read the Vorthak proposal with interest, but not surprise. They want to keep their core systems in exchange for releasing all remaining conquered worlds, he summarized for Admiral Hyunwoo. Terms? The Admiral asked. Complete withdrawal from all conquered territories. Reparations to be paid to liberated species. No military expansion beyond their traditional borders. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim stood at the window of his small ship, watching the massive space station grow larger with each passing minute. The Apex throne was the biggest thing he had ever seen. It stretched across space like a metal city, with towers and spires that reached in every direction. Lights blinked along its surface and ships moved around it like tiny insects. First time seeing it? Asked Captain Sora Park, walking up behind him. She wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's Space Navy, with her black hair pulled back in a tight knot. Her hand rested on her weapon even though they all knew it would be useless here. Yes, Hyunwoo said quietly. The pictures don't show how big it really is. Dr. Taemin Lee looked up from his tablet, where he had been reading notes about the aliens they would meet. It's meant to make visitors feel small, he said. The council built it this way on purpose. They want everyone to know how powerful they are before they even walk inside. Their ship shook a little as it entered the station's docking bay. Through the window they could see hundreds of other ships from across the galaxy. Some looked like Earth ships with smooth metal sides. Others were strange shapes that hurt to look at. A few seemed to be made of light itself. Remember, Hyunwoo said to his team, we're here to listen and learn. Earth sent us to find out what they want from us. What they want is everything, Sora said with anger in her voice. Every species that comes here leaves with less than they had before. We don't know that for sure, Hyunwoo said. But his voice didn't sound like he believed his own words. A voice came over their ship's speakers. It didn't sound human. Earth vessel, follow the blue lights to docking station 774. Do not leave your assigned path. Their pilot, a young man named Ki-woo, guided their ship along the marked route. The docking bay was so big that their ship looked like a toy inside it. When they landed, Hyunwoo felt the weight of what they were about to do. They walked down the ship's ramp and onto the station floor. The air was thick and tasted strange. Gravity felt lighter than Earth normal, making each step feel bouncy. Strange smells filled the air, some sweet, some sharp, some that made their noses burn. A creature waited for them at the bottom of the ramp. It stood on 4 legs like a horse, but its body was covered in blue scales that seemed to move on their own. Its head had too many eyes, and when it spoke, the words came from a box hanging around its neck. I am Guide Vel 129, it said through the box. You will follow me to the council chamber. Do not touch anything. Do not speak to other beings. Do not leave the marked path. They walked through halls that seemed to go on forever. The walls were made of some kind of metal that shifted colors as they passed. Strange beings moved around them, but none looked at the humans directly. Some floated in the air, others crawled on the walls. A few were just clouds of gas that somehow stayed together. How many different species are here? Taemin whispered. Thousands, the guide said without turning around. The council rules over 1,200 worlds. Representatives from many come here to bring tribute or ask for help. Tribute? Sora asked. The guide stopped walking and turned to look at them with several of its eyes. You do not know? Every world under council rule must give tribute. Food, metals, soldiers, workers. It is the price of peace. Hyunwoo felt something cold in his stomach. What if a world says no? The guide made a sound like laughing, but not happy. No world says no. The council has ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. All worlds pay tribute. All worlds obey. They kept walking. The halls got bigger and fancier. The walls showed moving pictures of space battles and alien cities. Hyunwoo realized they were showing the council's victories over other worlds. His team saw the same thing, and their faces got hard and angry. Finally, they reached a massive door that was as tall as a building. It was covered in symbols from dozens of different worlds, probably the signs of every species the council ruled. Beyond this door is the council chamber, the guide said. You will enter when called. You will stand in the center circle. You will speak only when asked to speak. The High Arbiter will tell you the terms of Earth's joining the council. What if we don't like the terms? Sora asked. The guide's scales changed from blue to dark red. That is not how this works, Earth creature. The council does not ask. The council tells. You will accept. The massive door began to open with a sound like thunder. Light poured out from inside so bright it made their eyes water. The guide pushed them forward with one of its legs. Go now. The council waits. They walked into the chamber and Hyunwoo's breath caught in his throat. The room was enormous, bigger than any building on Earth. The ceiling was so high he couldn't see it clearly. Around the walls, 12 huge seats rose up like mountains. Each seat was different, made for a different kind of alien body. In the center of the room was a small circle of light on the floor. That was where they were supposed to stand. The 12 seats held 12 different aliens. One looked like it was made of living crystal, throwing rainbow colors around the room. Another was just a cloud of green gas held inside a glass container. A third had too many arms and legs to count, all moving at once like it was dancing. The crystal being spoke, and its voice was like music made of broken glass. We are the Galactic Dominion Council. I am High Arbiter Veltharion of the Vorthak. You are the representatives of the world called Earth. That's right, Hyunwoo said, trying to keep his voice steady. I'm Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim. This is Captain Sora Park and Dr. Taemin Lee. Your names do not matter, another council member said. This one looked like a giant bug with wings that never stopped moving. What matters is that your world will now join the council's rule. Beltharion raised one of its crystal arms. For 50,000 years, every new world has stood where you stand now. All have accepted their place in the galaxy's order. Earth will do the same. The terms are simple, said a council member that looked like a tree made of metal. 40% of all resources your world produces will come to the council. 20% of your population will serve in council military forces. Your world will follow all council laws and customs. Your people will learn to speak council standard, added another voice. Your children will be educated in council schools. Your leaders will be chosen by the council. Hyunwoo felt sick. They weren't talking about joining anything. They were talking about slavery. These terms, he said carefully, they're not really a choice, are they? The crystal being made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Choice? There is no choice. There is only the council's will and the peace that comes from following it. What about worlds that refuse? Taemin asked. The chamber fell silent for a moment. When the council members spoke again, their voices were colder. There are no worlds that refuse, Beltharion said. Worlds that do not understand their place are helped to understand. The galaxy is peaceful because all worlds know their place. Sora stepped forward, her hand moving toward her weapon before she stopped herself. You mean you destroy them? We protect the galaxy from chaos, the bug creature said. One world's selfishness cannot be allowed to threaten billions of others. Hyunwoo looked at his team. Sora's face was red with anger. Taemin looked like he was going to be sick. This was worse than their worst fears about what they would find here. We need time to think about this, Hyunwoo said. The council members made various sounds, some like laughter, others like growling. Time? Beltharion said. Very well. Your species seems young and foolish. We will give you 48 Earth hours to accept what must be accepted. Return here when your sun has set twice on your home world. Bring your answer. But remember, the tree creature added, there is only one answer we will accept, the same answer every world has given for 50,000 years. The guide appeared beside them again. Come. You will be given quarters to wait in. As they walked back through the halls, none of them spoke. They all knew that Earth's future, and maybe Earth's survival, would be decided by what they said in 2 days. The weight of 40 billion human lives pressed down on them like the gravity of a dying star. In his quarters that night, Hyunwoo stared out at the stars and wondered if he was looking at Earth's last free sunset. The emergency meeting room in Earth's global government building had never held so many important people at once. President Yoon Ji-yoon sat at the head of the long table, her face tired from 3 days without sleep. Around her sat the leaders of every nation on Earth, all connected by quantum communication screens that made them look like ghosts in the dim light. Tell us again what they want, President Yoon said to the screen showing Ambassador Hyunwoo's face. He was calling from his quarters on the alien station millions of miles away. 40% of everything we make, Hyunwoo repeated. 40% of our food, our metals, our energy. 20% of our people to serve as soldiers in their armies. Our children taught only what they allow. Our laws replaced by their laws. General Min Ho Kang slammed his fist on the table. That's not joining their council. That's becoming their slaves. What happens if we say no? Asked Dr. Young-E Shin, the government's chief historian. Her voice was quiet, but everyone in the room listened when she spoke. On the screen, Captain Sora leaned into view. They destroy worlds that say no. They've been doing it for 50,000 years. No one refuses them. No one has refused them yet, Dr. Shin said with a strange smile. But that doesn't mean no one can. President Yoon looked around the room. Dr. Shin, you've been studying this situation. What do you think? Dr. Shin stood up and walked to the big screen on the wall. With a touch, it showed pictures from human history, battles, revolutions, moments when small groups faced impossible odds. Every great thing humanity has ever done started with someone saying no to something that seemed impossible to fight, she said. When the Persian Empire came to Greece, a few cities said no. When kings said common people had no rights, we said no. When dictators said some humans were worth less than others, we said no. She touched the screen again. Now it showed Earth from space, blue and white and beautiful. They rule 1,200 worlds, she continued, but they've never ruled a world like ours. They've never faced a species that grew up fighting each other and learning that freedom is worth dying for. But we're just one world, against their entire empire, said the president of the European Federation. Our weapons are nothing compared to theirs. Weapons aren't everything, General Kang said. I've studied every war in human history. The side with better weapons doesn't always win. Sometimes the side that refuses to give up wins instead. President Yoon was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke to the screen where Hyunwoo waited. Ambassador, what's it like there? What do you see? Fear, Hyunwoo said without hesitation. I see fear everywhere. The other species here are afraid to look at us directly. They're afraid to talk to us. They do what they're told without question because they're terrified of what happens if they don't. Dr. Taemin's face appeared on screen next to Hyunwoo. I've been watching and listening. The council keeps talking about peace and order, but it's not really peace. It's just everyone being too scared to fight back. Scared, Dr. Shin repeated. That's the key word. If the council was really as strong as they pretend, they wouldn't need to make everyone so afraid. Strong leaders don't need to threaten people to get them to follow. President Yoon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of the city. Millions of people living their lives not knowing that their freedom might end tomorrow. If we say no, she asked without turning around, what are the chances we can actually fight them and win? Small, General Kang said honestly. Very small. They have more ships, better weapons, and thousands of years of experience conquering worlds. But not zero, Dr. Shin added. The chances aren't zero. And if we say yes, the chances of staying free are zero. At least fighting gives us a chance. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what they were really talking about. They were deciding whether to risk the end of human civilization for the chance to stay free. I want to hear from everyone, President Yoon said. Every leader of every nation. What do you think we should do? One by one they spoke. The president of the African Union talked about how his ancestors had fought against slavery for hundreds of years. The Prime Minister of Australia mentioned how her country had been founded by people who refused to give up, even when everything seemed hopeless. The leader of the Arctic nations spoke about surviving in the harshest places on Earth by never accepting that something was impossible. We've never been united like this before, said the Chancellor of the German Federation. Every nation on Earth is talking as one voice for the first time in history. Maybe that's worth something. The aliens expect us to be like every other species they've conquered, added the president of the South American Alliance. But we're not like other species. We grew up on a world where everything tried to kill us and we survived by being too stubborn to die. President Yoon listened to every voice. When they were done, she turned back to face the room. Ambassador Hyunwoo, she said to the screen, if we give you the answer I'm thinking of giving you, can you say it to their faces without fear? Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. The first real smile anyone had seen from him in days. Madam President, I've been waiting my whole life to say this word to someone who deserves to hear it. Then here's our answer, President Yoon said. Her voice was calm and clear, like she was talking about the weather instead of the fate of humanity. No, the word hung in the air like thunder. Even through the quantum communication system, everyone could feel its power. No, she said again, stronger this time. We don't accept their terms. We don't accept their rule. We don't accept that freedom has to die for peace. Humanity says no. General Kang stood up and saluted. All military forces will be ready to defend Earth, Madam President. All nations stand together, said the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. For the first time in human history, we're truly united. Dr. Shin was smiling like she had just solved the greatest puzzle in the universe. You know what this means, don't you? For 50,000 years, no one has said no to them. We're about to do something that no species in the galaxy has ever done. We're about to find out if humans are as stubborn as we think we are, President Yoon said. On the screen, Captain Sora was grinning like she was about to charge into battle. Madam President, it's going to be an honor to deliver this message. Are you sure about this? Hyunwoo asked. Once we say it, we can't take it back. They'll never forgive us, I'm sure, President Yoon said. Dr. Shin is right. Every great thing we've ever done started with saying no to something that seemed impossible. Maybe it's time to do something impossible again. The meeting ended, but no one left. They all sat there thinking about what they had just decided. In a few hours, Humanity would do something no species had done in 50,000 years. They would look the rulers of the galaxy in the eye and refuse to bow. "Do you think we can really win?" asked someone. "I don't know," President Yoon answered honestly. "But I know we can't win if we don't try. And I know that some things are worth fighting for even if you lose." "What if other species see what we do and decide to fight too?" Dr. Shin asked. "Then maybe the galaxy changes forever," President Yoon said. "Maybe one word from one species can start something bigger than any of us can imagine." Outside the window, Earth turned in its orbit, carrying 40 billion humans toward an uncertain future. In a few hours, their ambassador would stand before the most powerful beings in the galaxy and speak one simple word that would change everything. Meanwhile, on the alien station, Hyunwoo sat with his team and prepared for the most important moment in human history. He practiced saying the word over and over, making sure it would come out clear and strong when the time came. "No," he said to the empty room. "No, we will not submit. No, we will not bow. No, humanity refuses." The word felt good in his mouth. It felt like freedom.